Let's just address the elephant in the room straight away. Men don't ask women on dates anymore. Before anyone starts hyperventilating in the comments, clutching their pearls, type in, well, actually, relax. This isn't a manifesto. This isn't a blame game. This is just an observation, a funny one, a painful one, and honestly, a very human one. If you enjoy this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. Because if you zoom out for a second and actually look around, something has clearly shifted. There was a time where asking someone out was awkward, sure, but it was also kind of expected. Like, you knew it was going to be uncomfortable, but you also knew the rules. There was a script. You stumble through it, maybe your voice cracks, maybe you get rejected, maybe you don't. You survive, you move on. Now it feels like trying to defuse a bomb blindfolded, while someone live streams it and the bomb has feelings. Men didn't suddenly become lazy or cowardly or emotionally unavailable overnight. That's the part that always gets skipped. Something changed in the environment. Because here's the thing nobody likes admitting. Men are actually very simple creatures. Not stupid, simple. If something repeatedly results in embarrassment, punishment, confusion, or public humiliation, they stop doing it. That's not patriarchy. And modern dating has become the weird social experiment where the rules are invisible, constantly changing, and everyone swears they are obvious. You are supposed to be confident, but not creepy. Direct, but not aggressive. Funny, but not trying too hard. Interested, but not desperate. Masculine, but emotionally open. Bold, but respectful. Spontaneous, but safe. Assertive, but somehow psychic. You're meant to just know. And if you don't, well, good luck. Because asking a woman out used to be a private interaction. Now it feels like a public performance with a review section. One awkward line, one mistimed joke, one misread signal, and suddenly you're not just rejected, you're archived. Screenshotted, sent to group chats, maybe even posted with a caption like, "Why are men like this?" And men see this, they absolutely see it. Guys don't talk about it publicly because when they do, they get told they are insecure or fragile, or that they are telling on themselves. Instead, they just quietly opt out. And that's the part nobody wants to talk about. Men aren't angry, they are tired. Dating apps didn't help either. Dating apps turn romance into online shopping. Except the products are people and the return policy is trauma. Men are told just shoot your shot, so they did. And then they are told, why do men always slide into DMs? Which is it? Because from a male perspective, it feels like standing at a firing range where every target might shoot back and call you a problem for being there in the first place. So eventually, a lot of guys go, you know what, I'm good. They go to the gym, they go to work, they go home, they laugh with their mates, they play games, they lift heavy fins, and pretend everything's fine. The answer isn't bitterness, it's risk assessment. And the funny part? Men still want connection, deeply, desperately. But the cost-benefit analysis just doesn't make sense anymore. You can do everything right and still be wrong. And that messes with your head. Because rejection used to be simple. No thanks. Cool, respect, move on. Now rejection comes with a TED talk about your personality, your tone, your energy, your vibe, your intentions, your past life, and your unresolved childhood wounds. Mate, I just asked if you wanted a coffee. And don't get me wrong, women aren't villains here, not even close. Everyone's reacting to the same chaotic environment. Women are more guarded because they've had bad experiences. Men are more hesitant because they've had bad experiences. But only one side gets told they are broken for opting out. There's this unspoken expectation that men should just keep pushing for a discomfort indefinitely, with zero acknowledgement of how the social climate has changed. And humour is the only way to talk about it without losing your mind. Because let's be honest, modern dating advice is insane. Just be yourself. Okay, which version? The relaxed at home version? The nervous but trying version? The emotionally regulated after therapy version? Or the funny version that only exists around friends? Men are constantly told to open up emotionally. But the second they do it at the wrong time, wrong depth, or wrong tone, it's like, nope, that was way too much, or not enough, or too soon, or too late. It's like emotional Goldilocks, but the bears are invisible and judging silently. So yeah, a lot of men stop asking women out. Not because they hate women, not because they are intimidated, but because the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And the irony? When men stop initiating, they are then criticised for that too. You're not trying hard enough. Men these days have no confidence. Where are all the real men? They are at home, in peace, finally and again, funny, but also kind of sad. Because connection shouldn't feel like walking into a courtroom where you are already guilty. Dating should be awkward. That's part of it. But it shouldn't feel dangerous socially, reputationally, or emotionally. So men adapt, quietly. They stop asking. They wait for clear signals. Or they disengage entirely. And then everyone wonders why it feels so disconnected out there. The truth is, a lot of men didn't quit dating. They quit guessing. They quit mind reading. They quit trying to oppress an algorithm, an audience, or a hypothetical tribunal. And honestly, can you blame them? Anyway, if any of this resonated with you, or if you laughed, or if you're offended but still watching, congratulations, you are alive. Because have you ever noticed nobody really announced it? Like there was no press conference, no memo, no official email saying, attention everyone, effective immediately, men will no longer be asking women out. It just stopped happening, quietly. And what's funny is people talk about it like it's some mystery. Like, strange, why don't men approach anymore? As if it's Bigfoot, or the Bermuda Triangle, or socks disappearing in the dryer. Meanwhile, men are sitting there like, yeah, we know exactly why, we were there. Because for a long time, asking someone out was awkward, but it was normal awkward. It was the kind of awkward you expected, your heart's racing, palms sweaty, brain going blank, you say something dumb, and then life goes on. Worst case scenario, she says no. You feel embarrassed for about 12 minutes, your mates roast you for a week, and then it becomes a funny story 10 years later. Now the awkwardness feels heavier, stickier, like it follows you home. And men are very good at one thing, learning patterns. Men don't need 10,000 data points. They need like 3 bad experiences and a group chat. And once that pattern gets established, once the risk starts outweighing the reward, men don't protest, they don't march, they don't complain loudly, they just quietly stop playing, and people confuse that silence with apathy. It's not apathy, it's fatigue. Because dating now feels less like connection and more like a high-stakes social experiment, where nobody will tell you the rules, but everyone will punish you for breaking them. And the rules change depending on who you are talking to, what day it is, what platform you are on, and how they are feeling about their ex that week. One woman says, men should be confident and direct. Another says, men who are direct are red flags. One says, approach in real life, not online. Another says, why would you approach a stranger in public? So men just sit there thinking, okay, so statistically speaking, I should do nothing. Because doing nothing is the only option that guarantees you won't end up as a screenshot titled, The Audacity of Men. And let's talk about screenshots for a second. because that alone has changed the entire game. Every interaction now feels like it might be recorded, documented, preserved. You're not just talking to a person, you are potentially performing for an invisible audience of friends, followers, and strangers. And again, men see this. They see TikToks, they see posts, they see comment sections cheering on public shaming like it's a sport. Before anyone jumps in with, well, if you're respectful, you have nothing to worry about. Let me just say this. Respect is subjective now. What one person calls confidence, another calls arrogance. What one person calls flirting, another calls harassment. What one person calls interest, another calls pressure. There is no universally agreed upon line, just vibes, and vibes are vibes until they are not. So men adapt, the way humans always adapt. By minimizing risk, that's why so many great guys retreat into routine, gym, work, home, repeat. It's predictable, it's safe, it doesn't require emotional exposure to strangers who might interpret you through the worst possible lens. And here's the part people don't like hearing. Men didn't become less romantic. They became more cautious. Because asking someone out now isn't just about rejection, it's about judgment. Rejection hurts your ego. Judgment attacks your character. And there's a massive difference between I'm not interested and men like you are the problem. One stings, the other lingers. So a lot of men just opt out before that can even happen. And humour is how they cope. That's why you hear jokes like, nah mate, I don't talk to women at work. Or, I don't flirt anymore, I just exist. Or, I'll wait for the HR approved signal. It's funny because it's exaggerated. But it's exaggerated from truth. And dating apps didn't fix this. They industrialized it. Dating apps turned human connection into metrics, matches, swipes, and ratios. Men learn very quickly where they stand in the hierarchy, and for most men, it's humbling. You're told confidence is attractive, but confidence is hard to maintain when you are invisible. So men adjust expectations, then adjust effort, then eventually adjust desire. And no one really talks about what that does to a person over time, because men are still told they are supposed to initiate, still supposed to lead, still supposed to take rejection on the chin and keep going. But the emotional payoff isn't there anymore. It used to be, if I try, maybe something good happens. Now it feels like, if I try, best case nothing happens, worst case I regret it. And again, funny, but not really, because connection matters. Being desired matters, feeling welcome matters. Men want to feel wanted, not tolerated. And modern dating often feels like men are auditioning for a role that doesn't exist anymore. So they stop auditioning. And here's where it gets ironic. When men stop asking women out, women notice. And understandably, some feel confused, or frustrated, or rejected themselves. And instead of asking why, the conversation often jumps straight to moral judgment. Men are lazy, men are scared, men have no social skills, which only confirms the decision to disengage. Because nobody wants to step back into a game where they are already assumed to be at fault. So what you end up with is this weird stalemate. Everyone wants connection, everyone feels misunderstood, everyone thinks the other side has it easier, and nobody wants to make the first move anymore. So men don't ask women out. Not because they don't care, but because caring started to feel like a liability. And yeah, I'm laughing while saying this, because there's a reason the jokes hit. Because behind every joke is a guy who tried, misread a moment, and decided, yeah, I'm not doing that again. And look, none of this is about hating women or blaming women. or pretending men are perfect angels who never mess up. Men mess up constantly. That's kind of our brand. This is about acknowledging that the social environment has changed, and pretending it hasn't is just dishonest. Dating culture shifted, communication shifted, expectations shifted, but the expectation that men should just absorb all of that without flinching somehow stayed the same. And that's where the disconnect lives. So men adapt the only way they know how, by withdrawing, joking about it, and focusing on what they can control. And that's why men don't ask women out anymore. Not because romance is dead, but because uncertainty is exhausting. Anyway, if you've made it this far, you're either nodding along, laughing quietly, or furiously typing a comment. And honestly, all three are welcome. Quick heads up, if you want more content like this, I post a lot over on my Facebook page as well. It's not just the clips or highlights you see there. These are longer reads and posts, the kind of thoughts that don't really fit into a 10-minute video. Stuff I notice in everyday life, examples I don't get to talk about on YouTube, pop up while I'm thinking through modern dating, social stuff, mental health, and just the way people interact these days. There's no hype, no trying to chase views or algorithms, no drama, just my actual take on all of it. The messy, awkward, funny, sometimes frustrating reality of what's going on around us. Basically the stuff we touch on here, but more in depth. It's for people who actually want to dig a little deeper, not just skim the surface. Like observations, reflections, examples from real life, sometimes stuff that's too nuanced for a short clip. It's just a space to think a little more freely without the usual distractions or pressure. Links in the description if you want to follow along. Totally optional. But if you are someone who wants more than just the highlights, more context, or just a quiet place to read things without any nonsense, it's a good spot for that. And honestly, I enjoy having that space. It feels like a calmer way to explore these ideas. Let's get a little deeper. If you ask people when men stopped asking women out, nobody can give you a year. There's no date, no before this moment, after this moment. It just sort of faded out. Like a TV show that didn't get cancelled but also never got renewed. One season you were still watching, thinking, oh yeah, this is still a thing. And then one day you realise, no one's talking about this anymore. And that's kind of what happened to Approaching. It didn't die in a dramatic way. It died in a slow, awkward, socially anxious way. Because the thing about asking someone out is that it requires optimism. You have to genuinely believe that the interaction has a chance of ending well. Not perfectly, just not disastrously. And optimism is hard to maintain when every social interaction feels like it's being evaluated under a microscope. Men didn't wake up one day and go, you know what, I hate romance now. They woke up and went, I don't know what I'm allowed to do anymore, and uncertainty is a motivation killer. Because men are problem solvers. If the problem is unclear, if the feedback is inconsistent, if the rules are invisible, the default response is disengagement. That's not toxic masculinity, that's engineering. And here's the funny part. Most men still replay conversations from 10 years ago. You know the one. The moment where you said something slightly weird, not just offensive, just off. You still think about it in the shower at 2 a.m. for no reason. Now imagine that same brain trying to navigate modern dating. Of course, men hesitate, because now it's not just did I embarrass myself, it's did I accidentally become a villain in someone else's story? And nobody wants that. Men don't want to be the creepy guy. They don't want to be the weird guy. They don't want to be the example in a post about how exhausting men are. So they play it safe, and safe often looks like silence. And silence gets misinterpreted. Silence gets labelled as indifference, or entitlement, or emotional immaturity. But from the inside, silence feels like self-preservation. Because here's another thing nobody likes admitting. The cost of being wrong has gone up. It used to be, oops, misread that. Now it's, why would you even think that was okay? And men internalize that deeply. So instead of risking being wrong, they just don't act. And then when we all sit around wondering why dating feels so stale, why everything feels transactional, why nothing feels spontaneous anymore, because that requires trust. Trust requires shared expectations. Shared expectations no longer exist. Everyone's operating off different scripts. Some people want old school romance. Some want chaos. Some want nothing at all. And men are expected to somehow know which one you are. Immediately, that's exhausting. And again, laughable, but exhausting. Because men don't experience rejection the same way anymore. Rejection used to be private. Now rejection often feels performative. Even when it's not public, the possibility that it could be public is enough to make people hesitate. Men don't want to be a lesson. They don't want to be content, so they retreat. And here's the part that really messes with people. Men are still attracted, still interested, still curious. They just don't want to initiate. They'll talk if spoken to. They'll respond if approached. They will engage if it's clearly mutual, but taking the first step, that feels like stepping onto thin ice. And you can only hear, just be confident, so many times before you start laughing. Because confidence without clarity isn't confidence, it's gambling. And most men aren't gamblers. They are not afraid of rejection, they are afraid of misinterpretation. There's a huge difference, and dating advice often completely ignores that. It treats men like they are robots, who just need a software update. Say this line, stand like this, text after exactly this amount of time, as if connection can be optimized like a spreadsheet. So men try, they fail, they get tired, and eventually they just stop trying. And look, the jokes write themselves. You see guys saying stuff like, nah mate, I don't approach, I just make eye contact and hope destiny handles it. Because men still want romance to feel organic. But nothing feels organic anymore. Everything feels loaded. Even compliments feel dangerous. You look nice today. Used to be harmless. Now it feels like you need a legal disclaimer and 3 witnesses. So men just keep it neutral. And neutrality kills flirtation. Flirting lives in ambiguity. Ambiguity now feels unsafe. So men choose safety. And then people ask why everything feels boring. Why nobody takes risks. Why nobody makes the first move. It's because risk is no longer rewarded. And again, this isn't a woman bad rant. This is a systems create behavior observation. Everyone is reacting to incentives, and the incentive structure says, don't initiate unless you are 100% sure. And men are rarely 100% sure, so they wait. And waiting turns into inertia, and inertia turns into isolation, and isolation turns into jokes. And jokes turn into long YouTube videos like this one. And the wildest part, men don't even feel angry about it anymore. That's what people miss. They are not raging, they are not plotting, they are not stewing. They are re-signed. They have accepted that this is how things are now. They will focus on what they can control. Fitness, work, hobbies, peace. And when romance happens, it happens. And when it doesn't, well, life goes on. And that acceptance scares people, more than anger ever could. Because anger can be argued with, silence can't. So when people ask, Why don't men ask women out anymore? The answer is one thing. It's 1,000 tiny moments where men felt unsure, unwelcome, or expandable. It's death by 1,000 social cuts. And yeah, we laugh about it. We laugh about it because humour is how men process things that they don't feel allowed to talk about seriously. If men talked about this, they'd be told they are whining. So they joke, they meme it, they shrug, they disengage. And then everyone acts surprised when connection feels rare. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button, share, subscribe. I won't chase you down the street asking. Take care of yourselves, look after your head, and remember, if dating feels weird right now, it's not just you. I'll see you in the next one.